Hello and welcome to Lunch Breaks. I'm here with Alex Coop. My name's James Griffin, and we're finally back after a very, very long break.
Yes, indeed.
Very sorry for the delay. And today we're revisiting one of the greatest fighting franchises of all time, Street Fighter. And for anyone unaware, there's actually another Street Fighter, a version of Street Fighter 4 coming out soon called Ultra Street Fighter 4. And there's a ton of new stuff about that. We'll get into that in a little bit. But just know there's some new characters, and Capcom just wants our money once again. But Alex, this is actually your first time playing Street Fighter 4. Now I know you played the earlier ones,
which is why I'm selecting Ken. He's my guy.
Very classic fighter.
The only character I know how to play as.
And how do you feel about the controls so far?
Well, throwing people is a little harder this time around, and Super Street Fighter 2 on the Sega Genesis, which was the last Street Fighter game I played. That one, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little easier to control. It's just like press one button to throw someone. Here, I still haven't quite figured out how to do that. And button mashing really isn't an option right now, but I seem to be doing all right. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, you're definitely well, you're kicking my ass, man.
Like I said, Ken's my guy, so we'll see if I select another character how well I'm gonna do.
Yeah. But no, what's great about Street Fighter 4, and I think for anyone who loves fighting games knows all about this, at around 2000, turn of the century, fighting games kind of lost a lot of their popularity. I think we're moving into a modern generation with the PS2 and the Xbox, and FPSs became the big thing. People were kind of bored of Street Fighter, bored of Tekken. So about the next 6 or so years, fighting games kind of became very dormant. They weren't a big deal as much anymore.
There's some pretty abysmal fighting games, like on the N64 that came out, like the later Mortal Kombat games that came out on the N64, like I said, and I think a couple in the Dreamcast even came out. I might be wrong about that, but some really bad Mortal Kombat games were out during that hiatus period.
Oh, what's actually hilarious is that some of them were, instead of doing fighting games, Mortal Kombat, like they did action games, like Shaolin Monks and stuff like that. Yeah, that was one of them.
And there was also a Sub-Zero side-scroller, which I watched someone play that, and I thought it was kind of cool, but I don't know. I don't think it really was it?
They were capitalizing on a different market for sure. But anyways, around 2007, a little game called Street Fighter 4 came out, and it was a huge deal, mostly because Capcom really pushed it. They marketed and promoted it very, very well, and it really brought back a scene that was dead for a very long time. And I remember actually talking to some guys at the local store ANC World, who were all big fighting game fanatics, and they talked about how Street Fighter 4 was like how everything kind of got brought back with fighting games, especially with Toronto Top Tiers, which started off as this Tekken thing, this very dormant Tekken kind of fighting tournament scene. And when Street Fighter 4 came out, they said they marketed a lot, and it brought back actually a Toronto fighting scene in the area. So, I mean, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And obviously, there's been a lot of iterations: Super Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, and now Ultra Street Fighter 4 is coming out in the next few months.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about Ultra Street Fighter 4, and we talked about this earlier today, is that they actually asked for fan feedback. So it's basically all the people who love fighting games, all those hardcore guys, they talked about what they wanted to improve on. And I think Capcom listened. I guess we'll find out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So far, I'm feeling pretty good here, and that's a KO.
Thank you very much. It's been a lucky bout so far, ladies and gentlemen. Just wait till the next few rounds. I let them have this one. I was being nice.
And yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying, this generation has revitalized several important fighting series like Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter. I loved Marvel vs. Capcom on the PlayStation. And seeing it come back is really refreshing. And not only did they bring it back, they made it much more approachable, but then they also maintained that like easy to access but hard to master gameplay. And it was really nice, and it works really well. A lot of people play it, and that's why it's successful.
Oh no, yeah, man. I remember I actually bought Marvel vs. Capcom 2 when it came out on PSN in 2009. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'll try out a fighting game. What the heck? This is supposed to be the best. Very, very hard to get into. If you're not ready for a steep learning curve, I'm telling you, you're going to be spending hours just trying to wrap your head around it. And
I think that's going to happen right here. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with Fei Long.
I think is it Fei Long or Fei Long? I thought it was Fei Long.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well,
shows how much I know about Street Fighter.
Actually, I've heard that Fei Long's supposed to be one of the best characters in the game. He's what, an S tier or whatever.
I've heard that too, but well, we'll see how I do here.
Oh, you're winning so far. Oh man. Anyways, going back to what Alex was talking about earlier with things like Marvel vs. Capcom and even Tekken to a point. Tekken never died, but it really, I don't know. When Tekken Tag Tournament 2 came out, that was 10 years after the first Tekken Tag Tournament. That was a big deal. But yeah, actually, same with Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It took about 10 years for them to make a sequel. And at first, people were kind of actually disappointed because there wasn't much content in the first release.
Well, that's what Capcom does for you, and that was pretty much the biggest gripe I had with that game. And that's the biggest gripe a lot of people had with that game is there was great quality there. It's a great quality fighting game, but it was just so bare bones. And not even a year later, they came out with the Ultimate version. So, they're revitalizing these series, but at the same time, they're just really milking it and just squeezing the money out of our wallets in really nasty ways, to say the least.
But at the same time, it's Capcom, so you kind of know what you're getting.
It's true. You know what you're getting, but it would be nice if they kind of didn't do it that way.
Oh yeah, there was actually a really big controversy with Street Fighter Cross Tekken. You may have heard because there was actually all the DLC characters were locked on the disc.
Oh yeah.
So when you bought it, you didn't even get. You had to pay an extra $20 to get like 8 characters.
Yeah.
And I actually have Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I still refuse to buy the 8 characters, simply because it came with the disc. Like, it's I don't know. That was a big problem for me.
It's bizarre.
Anyways, yeah, seems to be getting into my stride here. Oh, look at that. For anyone wondering, I'm a Buki, and he's Fei Long.
Fei Long.
Fei Long, we don't know.
I did all right first round, but it seems like you weren't really trying, or you just didn't know what you were doing yet.
No, I was just warming up.
I still haven't done a super, I don't think. Or
they're really hard. For anyone who doesn't know about fighting games, you have to hold like 3 buttons and then do like a double roll with your analog stick perfectly, or it doesn't work. Basically, it's I don't know. It's
next
one of those
to
steep learning.
impossible.
It's a steep learning curve for these kind of games.
I thought it was like pretty much the same as Marvel vs. Capcom. I'm like doing down left and then X and Y, but that hasn't really worked yet.
No, what's actually interesting is that Marvel vs. Capcom is a very frantic game, as you probably know, where it's all about kind of using assists and doing everything kind of as fast as you can in this really fast strategy. Street Fighter's always been about the technical. It's a very technical, all about kind of phasing out your opponents. Definitely, there's a lot. You'll be playing the long game a lot of time in Street Fighter, especially if you watch tournaments like the biggest one, Evo. You see one of the best players of all time, Daigo Umehara from Japan.
Yeah,
he is always takes his time, always relaxed, never very frantic movements.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, this game doesn't really allow for button mashing, but Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in particular, it does, and
it's so much fun.
That's kind of why it's more approachable for some people who just button mash when they approach a fighting game for the first time. But it's also quite hard to master, and there are lots of moves and techniques that you can apply to your game that are available for you if you choose to learn them.
There are a lot of layers in Marvel vs. Capcom and with Street Fighter, and like most of the best fighting games are like that. You can approach them, the casual person can pick up and play and have fun.
Yeah.
But the people who want to master it, that's a whole other level.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat was another one that is a perfect example of approachable, easy to learn but hard to master, and
that was one of the most perfect fighting games I think in a long time.
Yeah.
And you think about how much content was in that game.
Yeah.
They really outdid it. Was it NetherRealm, I think, did it?
Yes.
Yeah. And then they did Injustice, which was also a lot of content, fun games.
Not as much content as Mortal Kombat. And I was just going to say is how NetherRealm did such a good job of adding content to the Mortal Kombat 9. And then all of a sudden, Injustice came out, and they kind of, took a few steps backwards in terms of how much content was on that game.
They had a full story mode, though. I mean, come on, that's more than most fighting games can say. I mean, the biggest appeal for me when I bought Persona 4 Arena was that they had this huge story mode, and I'm like, okay, that's awesome. I can get into that. And I think if you think about Super Street Fighter 4, you think about Marvel vs. Capcom. There's no story. There's no really anything. Yeah. There's like an arcade mode, man.
Yeah, those cinematics in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it's like, what is going on? Like, why? You think there's like a story being set up, and then all of a sudden, nope.
Yeah.
It's all flash. And
very shoehorned in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Marvel vs. Capcom has always really been for the hardcore people.
Yeah.
So they knew it wasn't necessary, and it's Capcom. They'll be like, all right, they'll pay for it if they want it. Yeah. Shadow battles or whatever they're called. Yeah.
Oh
man.
my.
I think I'm getting into my stride now.
Yeah, I should go back to Ken. I did really good with Ken.
Anyways, speaking of Marvel vs. Capcom, we've talked about a movie that's coming out in the summer. One that we're both really excited for.
Yes, and he was also in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, the Ultimate Edition.
We're obviously talking about Rocket Raccoon, one of the Guardians of the Galaxy, my personal favorite Guardian of the Galaxy, and I think maybe yours too.
He's definitely up there, yeah, for sure.
He's one of the most wackiest characters. I thought them putting him in Marvel vs. Capcom, I guess maybe, I don't know if it was intentional, probably not, is definitely a good promotion for the movie.
Yeah, I think that leading up to the movie's release, his involvement in the game certainly helps spread the his recognition, to a bigger audience. Yeah, he's a fun character to play as.
He's very wacky, and I think I speak for both of us when I say that Bradley Cooper playing him in the movie is going to be excellent.
Yes,
best choice ever.
Yes, and they're also he's getting his own comic series written, and the art is also being done by the same person. His name escapes me all of a sudden, but he's doing both the art and the illustration, which is pretty cool. And
you can actually read Alex's article about it online right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Check out cgmagonline.com.
Scotty Young, that's his name.
Scotty Young. There you go.
And yeah, he's doing the art and he's writing it, and it's gonna be cool. It looks like it's definitely, realizing that it's about a raccoon who's shooting guns. So it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be wacky, kind of like him in the game in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. But I hope they take into consideration that he's also like a pretty smart guy, and he's a leader. He's also
owned.
Yes. But yeah, he's a tactician. He's a leader. So I hope they include those things in the series as well.
I think it'll be good. I mean, I guess he's definitely gonna get more popularity for the movie. It's a big budget Marvel movie, very self-aware Marvel movie.
Yeah.
That was hilarious trailer. But yeah, I think we're both pretty excited for that, and yeah, I hope they bring more Guardian of the Galaxy characters into future fighting games, because they're pretty crazy.
Yeah, just they need to have a Marvel-based fighting game. They had Marvel Nemesis: Rise of the Imperfects on Xbox.
I remember that game,
and as I don't know, controls are pretty dicey, but it was fun. I actually liked that game a lot, and they tried to include a story mode, which was nice. It didn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. It was a nice touch, but they need something like that again.
And, what I think they should do, and this is probably never going to happen, is that they have Marvel vs. DC with Marvel vs. Capcom controls, which would be like the perfect game. And what's funny is that they have Marvel vs. Capcom. Mortal Kombat tried this thing a few years ago. Mortal Kombat vs. DC, not very good. Don't play it.
Hold on a second. It was okay.
It was really bad.
It was okay. I think it was just weird for people not seeing Scorpion rip out, someone's spine. But I guess that's understandable. They couldn't do that to Batman. But an Injustice-like game with Marvel versus DC or just Marvel, that'd be awesome.
Also, would be cool is Capcom. It's not Capcom. Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat would be awesome.
That'd be pretty interesting.
But I know they're doing it with Tekken right now, which is great. And there's actually going to be a Tekken cross Street Fighter, although not much word on that for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we're heading into our final matchup here, I believe.
Yes. So I think my lightning cannonball is going to steal the show here.
Yeah. I've never played as Makoto, but I mean, buff chicks beating the crap out of people is
what?
Awesome.
Are your hands that big? That was so weird.
For anyone who hasn't figured it out, everything in Street Fighter is very exaggerated.
Anyways,
we also really wanted to talk about the new issue of the magazine, which is just came out. It's digital only for this month.
Yes.
And we got some great stuff talking about the new digital age of gaming, of really just the digital age in general. We got some great reviews, Lightning Returns, Bravely Default, which I did. Please check it out.
Yeah.
But it's a, I mean, another thing to talk about is that great cover illustration by Joe.
I was gonna say, the cover just really sets the tone for the entire issue. It's really cool. You guys should check it out.
And if you're from Toronto, come on, it's a TTC.
Yeah.
How can you not love that?
You will relate to what you see. It is awesome.
Actually, what's hilarious is the cover, which shows a guy sitting on the TTC playing a 3DS and then seeing another guy across. That's actually happened to me once before, and it was really, really awkward. I was just sitting there, minding my own business. Head slowly goes up. This guy's got a 3DS right across from me. Eyes lock.
Oh, tears. Oh,
5 seconds of complete silence, and I was just like, "Hey," and I went back to the game, and we never talked again. That's communication, people. But great issue. Really, you guys should check it out.
Yeah, and we're also gonna, as you can see here, we're making a return. Lunch Breaks is coming back. Apologies for the hiatus, but we are back, and we're gonna step up our game here.
So what are we doing next week, Alex?
Well, for next week, we are going in preparation for Dark Souls 2. We want to kind of look back and play some Dark Souls and talk about the series. Our last issue had a heavy focus on it. So yeah, it's a no-brainer, and Dark Souls is an intense game, and I love it.
No, it's a fun game. I tried it once. I got past the bell tower, but then I had too many rage quits, so I needed a break, and I unfortunately sold it. But I'm looking to actually get back into it.
You sold it?
I sold it. I know it's foolish, guys. We all make mistakes. Anyways, this has been James Griffin and Alex Coop for Lunch Breaks,
And I just won.
and it was a lucky win, ladies and gentlemen.
That was for all the marbles, ladies and gentlemen.
See you next week.